Hey everyone, it's Jenny from Homestead Corner. Today I wanted to talk about a few items that I think are important to focus on before hyperinflation sets in. All across the country, all across the world, really, everyone is seeing inflation. And with the government continuing to print money that we don't have and raising the debt ceiling further and further and further, it's just, all the supply chain, all the stuff that's going on compounded together is just causing, it's a recipe for hyperinflation, and you can kind of see it coming. It's staring us in the face, and things continue to rise, and they talk about things are going to drop in price, and this is just transitionary, but in reality all inflation is transitionary to go to the next higher level. It's something we all really need to be concerned with and watching. And I think it's important for us to stock up on our basics so we have plenty of it before that hyperinflation kicks in. And once it gets really bad, paying $3 for a loaf of bread today, in 6 months we could be paying $50 or $100 for a loaf of bread, and most people are not going to be able to afford that. So having a stockpile is so important, and I think I have a list here of a few things that I think are super important that we need to make sure that we have enough of these to go us for quite a long time, at least as long as they are going to last, because the higher it gets, the less we're going to be able to purchase. My income isn't going up because of inflation, and I'm sure yours is not either. Things are getting more expensive. We've got to be ready. So let's get into this list. So the first thing is make sure you have plenty of water. I think water is the number one thing. You can only go 3 days without water. You have to have it. And, I'm talking water filters, some sort of water purifier, a filter, and as much water as you can store. We cannot store 5 years worth of water. Most people do not have houses big enough for that, and being able to live in it. So having a water filtration system and plenty of filters so you can rely on those filters. There are tons of different options out there. I know a lot of people love Berkeys, but they are really expensive, and it's, do the best you can with what you've got. I really think that is the best we can do. Just do what you can. The next thing that I think we need to really look at is food. Make sure you've got those dry goods, veggies, fruits, freeze-dried, canned, whatever, whatever you can. And like your beans and lentils and things like that, those are also seeds. You can plant those. And in your food, I think you should have a seed stockpile for gardening and growing your own food. That is going to be pertinent in the future, I believe. We're gonna have to grow our own food, and having plenty of seeds and learning how to save seeds is going to be another big one. So, but your beans and lentils, those things, they're seeds. You can plant them as long as you don't put them in the oven and dry can them. That kind of messes them up for planting and sprouting. They also can be sprouted for added nutrition. Just soaking them in water. Sprouting seeds is really easy to do, and it adds a ton of nutrition to eat them that way. And you could cook them after, or you can throw them in a salad and eat them fresh. You're going to get the most nutrition that way, and it's really can help add, those seeds from the beans. They are seeds, so definitely know that there are more options than just cooking the beans. There are more things for it. So seeds, you can plant, you can sprout, you can do so many things with them. Beans are a big one. The next thing that I think we should stockpile is fuel. If you need fuel to cook with, to heat your home with, get as much as you can. Gas cans, only so many gas cans. It is not going to last forever. Gas does get nasty, so only so much gas. We like to make sure that we cycle out our gas at least every 6 months that is in gas cans. So using it before the 6 months is up and then refilling, I think is a great way to go. And that's how we do it. And also your heating fuel, if you can get your tank filled, propane, whatever it is you use. We bought a little bit extra wood this spring when we were buying our wood. We try to get a little bit extra. We had some extra left, and we still bought a little bit extra just to get ahead as much as we can, so we have it for as long as we can. And then the next thing, tools. Having tools so you can fix things around the house. Hand tools are a great thing to have. If you can't afford, as the prices rise, you may not be able to afford to have someone come fix a broken window, or have someone fix a broken leg on the table, or, fix anything. You may not be able to afford it. So having the tools to do it yourself and practicing those skills, so you have an idea how to use those tools, I think is super important also. And, electrical is great as long as you have electricity. We like to keep an extra set of everything that is completely hand powered, because if the grid goes down for an extended period of time, we can still be okay. We've got those hand powered tools. We've got saws and everything, you name it, we've got it hand powered. And it may take two of us to take a tree down, but we'll get it done. All right, the next thing that I think is super important to stockpile is medicines. Those over-the-counter medicines, creams, lotions, pain medicine, Advil, Tylenol. They have just so long of a shelf life, but if having a little bit more than what you think you're going to use in that shelf lifetime, I think is a great idea. If something comes up and you need to use extra, or someone gets sick or something like that, having those on hand are going to be great. If the price goes from $10 to $400, you're going to have it, and you're not going to have to worry about where you're going to come up with $400. That's the thing with hyperinflation. If the products are there, they could be ridiculously priced. There are videos out there of people that have lived through hyperinflation, or the collapse of their countries and things, and good golly, the prices, a $3 loaf of bread is a $10,000 loaf of bread. It happens, and it can happen here, and a lot of people think it can't, but it can. The next thing I think is important to stockpile is medical supplies. Your bandages, your, things like that. An extra walker if you use a walker, extra cane, things of that nature. People that have CPAPs, extra water tanks, extra hoses, things like that. Having them, extra hoses for, your nebulizer or whatever kind, if you use any medical equipment, having extra filters and pieces is going to be a great thing to have on hand. There are already some medical supplies and items and medicines that you have to wait to get it. It's not in stock. So you're having to wait a few extra days, and it can happen that we might have to wait a couple of months to get something. So having those extra things are going to be really important to keep you healthy. The next thing I think we should have a big supply of is batteries. And we should have a good supply of batteries all the time, I think, but really focus on, check your flashlights, your lanterns, your radios, whatever takes batteries, check them. Make sure you have a good solid supply for each type of battery. If all of your flashlights use double A's, then you want to have a ton of double A batteries. Duracell has a 10-year warranty on their batteries, so you can buy those ahead quite a ways and they will still work. So the cheaper batteries are not, they don't last as long, and you know, they're cheaper and they'll get you through in a pinch, but for long term, I think it's better to go with a little bit more expensive item. If you're thinking that, you know, the grid goes down for 6 months or a year or 5 years, I mean, it can happen. You just never know. So if that is something you think can happen, definitely get those, you know, more expensive batteries that are going to last. The next thing that I think is super important to have plenty of and stockpiled up is clothing. We are going to still need clothing. Yes, I think it's important to fix what you have, make it last as long as you can, but we still are going to need stuff. Stuff wears out. We're going to need clothes. And as prices rise, those things are going to rise too. A couple extra pairs of shoes would be a blessing to have. You know, nice, comfortable shoes that you can walk around in, do some work in, things like that. Having those extras, you know, underclothes. Oh my goodness. Fresh underwear, fresh socks, you know, bras, whatever you use. Having those is, you know, you'll feel like a princess in 6 months if you haven't had it. So, you know, you pull it out, you're like, woo, new socks. Doesn't take much to amuse me. I love new socks. But those things are super important, and as the prices rise, it's going to be impossible, and you know, to afford them. And if they're available, that's the thing. When we get into things like this, you know, it can really, we could go to the store tomorrow and there could be nothing. So I think really focusing on the things that are necessary and you really need, we need to make sure we have plenty of those. We may not be able to run to the store and grab it. And the last thing, and this is something that I think is important to help preserve your wealth, but paying down your bills first, getting your house paid off so you don't lose your house is number one priority, I would say, before, you know, savings. Having an emergency savings is really important and really helpful, but, you know, and helping you to pay that house. But if you get it paid off early or something like that, that can be even more of a help. And I think that, you know, if your house is paid off or close to paid off and you have that extra savings, preserving your wealth in some silver and gold is a good idea, just because it really does retain its value. And I think that's the way to go. You're not going to get rich overnight. It's not one of those things. You know, it's not investing in the stock market and it blowing up overnight, but it's going to retain the value. You're not going to lose your money. It doesn't really go, it goes a couple dollars down, but, you know, and pops up. It's very much, you know, it's fluid, but it doesn't dip way down and, you know, and lose all your money, which the stock market can. So I think having that buffer and cash also, having some cash on hand. If the grid goes down and you need something at the store, they can't run your credit card if there's no electricity and, you know, no internet. So having some cash on hand, I think, is also important. And I like to keep small bills on hand. That way, if I need a $5 item and they don't have change, I can still get the $5 item without paying $20 or $50. So I think small bills, coins, really important. You know, silver and gold, if you're at that position that you can do that. And that is it for today. That is my list of things that I think are really important to stockpile before hyperinflation sets in. And that way we're going to be okay. You know, I always look at prepping about how can I make it so we are going to last and we are going to be okay. No fear in it. Take that out, throw it away. Prepping should not be scary. It should be comforting and knowing that you are going to be able to make it through this. And that's it for today. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.